That's their mindset, kind of understanding what is going to be here in the next 5, 10, 15 to 20 years, right? But now, what if we are in a city that's a little bit older and a little bit underdeveloped? Then what do we do?
With a city that's a little bit older, you want to look at the trends, right? Because if it's a city that's a little bit older, like Chicago, different parts of New York, different things of that nature, well, the cycles just continue to repeat themselves, right? So people move into downtown, then it becomes overpopulated and ran down, and they go to the suburbs and they come back, right? That cycle is going to continue to cycle. That's really is what's going to happen there. So you want to kind of pay attention to those different trends of like, okay, and look where you see the growth happening. If you see a Starbucks coming here, or you see, a McDonald's coming there, or Home Depot coming in different areas, like these are large corporations that they've done the work for you already. In fact, when you look at certain areas, you would see before it became a bustling area, you would see like, hey, McDonald's was there 5 years before anybody else. A Home Depot was there 5 years before anybody else. Why? Because when you get a new property, that's where you're going, right? You're going there, and then the construction workers are going to McDonald's to get something to eat, right? So they are literally going to be there, one of the first ones. So you want to pay attention to that, and then you want to pay attention to other retailers that are coming in with shopping centers, and they put a Starbucks there. That's going to be a real indicative sign. And with the city that's underdeveloped and growing, you want to pay attention to the new highways and freeways that are being developed, right? That is going to be very, very important to look at that, where those new exits are, right? And you want to be, a certain distance from there. Definitely get with us. We'll give you the details on how that works, because that's already a lot of gems that we're kind of giving you there. But we want to make sure that you're not only educated with that information, but you understand the reasoning, right? So that's why we have to have a real good detailed conversation behind it, because it gets really into the weeds when you want to understand that. But these are sort of the different things you want to look at. You want to look at the new retail, hey, where they're building those things, where schools are coming. Another sign other than retail is new DMVs, right? Okay, looking at that as well. If you go and do the research in a lot of the cities, the DMV, when that area is growing, gets there pretty early, more times than not, right? At one time here in Las Vegas, we had like one DMV, then they put up one in Henderson, then it was one, off of in the Southwest, and now the Southwest is a bustling area, right? And they put one in, Aliante, different places. So looking at that, looking at the growth of the colleges and universities, and so there's so many different signs where that's developing. However, you want to stay updated with things, because technology is changing a lot of those retail actions as well, right? So because we could do a lot of things online, some of those signs aren't going to be as noticeable as they were in other years, because we are doing a lot of things virtually now. So you're going to have to look at different points. And that's where your expert real estate professionals can come in and kind of educate you. And you just need to let them know, like, hey, I'm looking to keep this property long term, but I'm not looking to live in this property long term. Can you make sure that I'm getting in an area that's going to get me, a certain value, what we call a cap rate on the rents? And, it's going to appreciate in equity, at a certain rate per year. You want to look at those things, and the real estate professionals will have statistics on, say, hey, this area grows at 5% a year versus this area grows at 10 or 12%, right? And there's going to be pros and cons of picking each area, because the area where the appreciation is higher, maybe the rents are lower, right? So you may suffer on that end. So it's going to be very difficult in the short term to get both of those things. But so you have to understand which one is going to be more important to you.
Got you. So basically, it sounds like trying to get the rent and the appreciation of the property is just not going to happen for the most part, right? It will over time, right? Over time, but as a sailor, first time purchase, right? I call Veterans for Veterans, get me to be able to get my VA home loan situated, get it to the vetted our vetted loan officers and so on and so forth. Once we have gotten our pre-approval, we're shopping. Now, once we're shopping, we are looking for a Starbucks, we are looking for major highways, and we're always looking for construction workers at McDonald's, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. So now those are the outside components of an investor mindset. Can you give me the top 3 inside components for your home and for the investor mindset?
Absolutely. So I would say the top 3 components of an investor mindset when you're looking inside the exact property is, one, you want to look at the age of the property. Okay, so you that is going to be paramount because that's going to determine how many repairs that you're going to have to do in your future repairs, whether you need to replace a water heater versus actually replace a roof or AC unit that could be a lot more expensive. Okay, you want to look at that. You want to look at the number of bedrooms. And that's going to be very important. Typically, you want to have at least 3 or more bedrooms if you can in a property, just because, families and, when you're looking at things, that is really the core of what they're looking at. 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath properties. Okay. And third, what you want to look at is just really looking at the area of the property. I think the location is always going to be paramount there, right? So you want to survey the location. And when you're surveying the location, you just don't want to look for curb appeal and the basic factors because that's going to vary. You want to actually look at based on what your mortgage is for that property, and you want to always compare that against the rental values for those properties and kind of see where it's at.